Hi guys, good evening. This is Dr. Jenny Yusuf, physical therapist and doctor of physical therapy, creator and founder of Balance and Fall Support Group in Aging Adults. And today is, thanks God, it's Thursday. Every Thursday, we highlight innovators, academicians, physical therapists, and other business entrepreneurs, And also we have CEOs of different nonprofit organizations that we are being help or part of it. So thank you so much for this evening. And if you are in Philippines, magandang umaga. And if you're in US, good evening, guys. And we are all over. Salam alaikum. All right. So it's me, Dr. Jenny. I am your host, and we have a wonderful guest tonight. He's very busy and he has a specific time for us. He is the president of the Rocksteady Boxing Organization. So we will learn more. What is Rocksteady? And this is a health and wellness organization which is more particularly inclined in Parkinson's disease. So we'll give a little bit of what is Parkinson's and why Rocksteady for Parkinson's disease. And Dr. Ryan Cotton is the president, the CEO of the Rocksteady Boxing Organization. He is more than 25 years as a physical therapist like us, and he is now on the entrepreneur and leadership side. And in his career, he's based in Indianapolis, Indiana, and he is more mainly in orthopedic and as a physical therapist. So without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Dr. Ryan Cotton. We'll call him Ryan for tonight. How are you, Ryan? Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Hi, Jenny. Thanks for having me. Like you said, I'm a physical therapist talking to you all, a group of physical therapists as well. So my career, I did undergrad in therapy school at the University of Evansville in Southern Indiana. And after finishing my master's degree in therapy, I worked as a clinician for 2 to 3 years in outpatient orthopedics. After about 2 or 3 years, I went back to the University of Indianapolis and completed my Doctor of Health Science. So from 2001 to 2006, I was at the University of Indianapolis. And like you said, I was an orthopedic therapist. I was always in outpatient orthopedics. I started my Doctor of Health Science degree with the thought of doing academic work. I was leaning towards doing faculty work. Well, when I was at the University of Indianapolis, a friend and colleague of mine was starting a private practice in orthopedics, so I joined him and was in outpatient orthopedics for over 20 years. So I didn't go straight into academics, but I did develop an orthopedic residency program, the first in Indiana we had at our company. So over the years, I was in clinical practice. But I was also peripherally involved in Rocksteady Boxing. Rocksteady Boxing started in Indianapolis in 2006. It came out of a young onset Parkinson's group. So our founder, Scott Newman, was a lawyer in Indianapolis, a public figure. So he had to be on TV, had to make appearances. He was a prosecutor in Marion County. And he had early onset Parkinson disease, and his Parkinson's was limiting his ability to work, right? Trouble writing, trouble working on the computer. And keep in mind, this was 2006. I did a recent literature search on exercise recommendations for Parkinson's in 2006. And there were 3 studies that said, maybe we should exercise, but you got to be safe. Don't be rambunctious. Don't fall down. Gentle exercise and work on your balance. So like in true Rocksteady fashion, this group of people with young onset Parkinson's said, well, we should try boxing. And they kind of stumbled upon it, for lack of a better term. A friend of Scott's was a police officer who knew about boxing, and he was tired of seeing his buddy not being able to function in his job. So he said, I don't know what to do. Let's go to the gym and we can start doing some boxing training. And his symptoms got better. And one day he was out with some friends and colleagues, and they're like, man, you look like you're doing a lot better. He's like, yeah, I've been boxing. And he held up his hand like this, and he goes, since then, I've been rock steady. So that's how we came around.
Mhm.
So in 2008, we were developing our first board of directors. And so I was asked to be on the board of directors at that time and served for a decade on the board of directors, where during that time we went from one group of people in Indianapolis that met in an aerobics room and set up and tore down a boxing gym and aerobics room every day. So now we have 818 Rocksteady gyms in every state in America and 14 countries around the world. So during that time, there's been quite an expansion of what we do. And luckily, the science has kept up with us or has supported what we do. You know, when, like I said, when they started developing the curriculum in 2006, there wasn't any science supporting it. That said, you know, don't do this aggressive, intense sort of exercise.
Mhm.
Luckily now, as physical therapists, we know from the neuro section, there's the recommendations. From the Parkinson's Foundation, there's exercise recommendations, and all of that says multimodal exercise, working on strength, flexibility, balance, mobility, and intensity needs to be part of that exercise. And as a physical therapist, I can say, as a profession, we're completely guilty of underwhelming the Parkinson's population when it comes to exercise, right? We do, you know, single leg stance, maybe Romberg. Oh, then maybe we do it on some foam, right? That people with Parkinson's need balance work, but they need high intensity active balance work because that improves your quality of life. So, like I said, luckily now there's a gathering of a bunch of literature that supports what we do and how we do it. So that's my introduction and how I went from being an orthotherapist to on the board of Rocksteady, and eventually came on as chief scientific officer of Rocksteady and worked to develop the curriculum that we teach other people. And then in late 2022, I transitioned to president and CEO.
Wow. And then the rock, when you do like this, it's like Rocky. Did you get the rock from Rocky? You know.
You know, he just said, you know, since he's been boxing, it's been rock steady. So, you know,
okay.
that's where it came from.
And that's really good. Make you steady, because I believe when I check the bio and also the website, your goal is improve their balance, of course. But as what you've said, we need to have a high impact exercises, you know, and also you teach them how to fall and get up from falling. So decrease the fears of fall. But why Parkinson's disease? But you said it already, because of the young onset Parkinson's of Scott and everybody. And then, but you think this is for now focusing on the Parkinson's, but do you think it will evolve in helping other neurological disease?
Yeah, that's a great question. We get that all the time. There's no doubt that exercise helps many neurologic conditions. The Rocksteady boxing curriculum is very specifically designed for people with Parkinson's. So when people hear, oh, boxing for Parkinson's, they're like, oh, I took a fitness class and I learned how to do some, you know, shadow boxing or whatever. I can just do that with my folks. But over, you know, 17 years now of doing what we do, we've really modified a traditional boxing curriculum very specifically to address the symptoms of Parkinson's disease. So, for example, I'll slide back here. A boxer is going to throw a quick punch and get it back to protect themselves, versus our Parkinson's boxer throws a big long punch and they overextend and they over rotate to fight that rigidity in the trunk. So it's not just taking everyday boxing and doing it intensely. Our curriculum is specifically designed and adapted to address the symptoms of Parkinson's disease. So to your question, Rocksteady boxing at its core is only for people with Parkinson's or atypical versions of Parkinson's disease. Not that people with MS or essential tremor or something else wouldn't benefit from exercise, but our exercise is specifically for people with Parkinson's. And the other component to what we do is in group classes, how Rocksteady was originally designed, it's like a support group with boxing gloves on, right? So everyone's there sharing the same battle, sharing the same encouragement for one another because they all have Parkinson's disease. And over the years, we've fiddled with maybe letting other diagnoses come in, and it just doesn't feel right. Those people don't feel like they're part of the club, if you will. So we've, over the years, really limited our participation to those people specifically with Parkinson's disease.
Okay. Yeah, as what you showed like that. So we study first the Parkinson's, its symptoms. That way you're going to show all the styles and the technique exactly to fight the opposite of that rigidity, like the truncal rigidity, the stiffness, because you're making it really wide movement. And then because the boxing, I keep doing it like this, the typical one. That's what I watch, right? And I love boxing in the gym because as a cardio, but it's really doesn't need to be big because it's sometimes just like this, the typical, and then they have that, Manny Pacquiao from Philippines. We should always watch them, right?
Right. And when you watch Manny, he's all covered up, right? Because he's playing defense.
Yeah, just like
someone with Parkinson's lives in this posture. So we get our folks with Parkinson's real tall and upright when they box, which there's no way a competitive boxer is going to stand straight up because they're going to take one off their kisser. So Manny's here, but our boxers are tall, shoulders back, which again is one of the differences of how we've adapted that curriculum.
Good to know, yeah. And then we appreciate also Dr. Connie during the Geriatric Rehab Summit. Thank you so much. Also, we discussed all of those and she showed some of the movements. And I see that you're involving lots of music as part of the socialization too. So that's really different too, right? And our Parkinson's patients really need some socialization, that they're not alone, and that's the motivation there.
Yeah, absolutely. Parkinson's disease can be terribly isolating. Think if you go out, you have trouble walking, you're afraid you might fall down, and you have a tremor. So are you going to go have drinks or dinner with folks? Your socialization is one of the first things to go, and getting to exercise helps those symptoms, right? So it can improve your tremor, improve your walking, decrease falls. All of that's been shown in the literature. But the big thing is it improves your quality of life. And in my opinion, those quality of life measures are reflected in improved confidence and improved ability to be out in the community doing what you want to do because you're not afraid of falling. Or, if you do happen to fall, I can fall safely and I can get up from this fall, right? You mentioned earlier, we practice falling in classes, not every day, but we teach our folks how to fall. 65% of people diagnosed with Parkinson's have fallen in the previous year. So my dad, who had Parkinson's, just said, I'm just getting familiar with my carpet. And that's just part of having the disease. But it's the fear of, what if I fall? What if I hurt myself? And what if I can't get back up? So in class, we address all those things. We practice falling on mats. We learn how to tuck and roll. We learn how to fall safely. And then, just like all the therapy world, we piece together, okay, how are we getting up from this fallen position? And how do we do so safely? And, over time, it's funny, we see our boxers come in and almost brag about falling. They're like, guess what? I fell the other day, didn't hurt myself. I did the tuck and roll thing. I took inventory and I was okay. And I got up and I was just fine. So it becomes kind of a badge of honor after a while to say, hey, look, I've practiced this and I've reaped the benefits of practicing.
That's really good. That's why they're not saying now fall prevention. We need now falls preparedness, right? Because of the falls and safety.
Yeah, that's a simple semantic, but it's so accurate, right? People with Parkinson's fall. That's it. So be prepared for when you fall and be prepared to get up from when you fall. That's a great way to put it.
Yes, yes. So as a clinician, as a physical therapist, knowing that this is one certification, I believe, of this organization, Rocksteady Boxing is another tool that we can add on our toolbox as a good clinician. How can we contact or how can we learn more about this? Like, how does it work? Is it like online? Is it in person? Things like that, Ryan.
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the first things I did when I came on board, like I said, Rocksteady was always designed to be delivered by rehab and fitness professionals in a group setting, right? So there's, you're teaching to a group. As a physical therapist, one of the first things I did is say, not all therapists, A, are comfortable in a group, and B, there's huge benefits to seeing a therapist individually if the need be. So we developed a very specific training specifically for clinicians, so physical therapists and occupational therapists, where we teach the methodology, but instead of teaching the methodology to deliver to a group class, we teach it to deliver one-on-one in a clinical setting. So that training is available. Our website, which is rocksteadyboxing.org, has an outline of the trainings, but it's a hybrid training that is about 12 hours online. So in the online is what you'd expect, all the background, all the curriculum development, all the science about what we do. And then there's a 2-day in-person training that happens in Indianapolis that is essentially the lab, right? So when you come to Indianapolis, you've learned all the didactic information. Now, literally, you're putting on gloves. You're learning how to do it so you can then instruct other people how to do it.
The practical part.
It's the practical part, yeah.
We always have the practical exam. Are you going to exam us on the practical part?
Yeah. You better train ahead of time because it's hard, right? I mean, like I said, the intensity of those classes need to be high for our people with Parkinson's. So someone with young onset Parkinson's, man, they work out hard when they're in a class. So if you as a therapist are working and training with somebody, you have to be in pretty decent shape in order to keep up.
Wow. Yeah. And then how many days does it work for this practical, for the lab part?
Yeah, the lab part, it's 2 days. So you come in kind of midday one day and you're done kind of midday the next day. So 2 medium-sized days. And we put the midday on because the training is in Indianapolis. That allows people to come in and come out and not have to spend only one overnight rather than multiple overnights. A little more difficult if you're coming from the Philippines, but in the U.S., in and out. But all to say, we've also taken that training to clinicians, right? So, for example, there's a NYU in New York City. They train all their therapy students in it, and we go to them because there's 35 therapy students training at the same time. It makes much more sense for us to go to them rather than them all to come to us.
With your trainers, yeah.
If there is a group that wants training, if it's a big enough size, we can clearly get to that group to do the training.
Yes, because we checked that right now the program for the lab part is in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So regarding that scheduling, we can just connect and check with the website, right? So what is the closest now that we're about to end the year? Do you have November, December so far, or the beginning of the year is the schedule?
Yeah, we do have one training left in Indianapolis this year. It's in November. And then next year's schedule is out. And there is a January, and I believe the next one after that's in April. So there's, I believe, 6 or 7 next year throughout the year on the calendar, and that's already published.
Thank you so much. So thank you so much, Ryan. This is amazing. We learned about the Parkinson's disease, the reason why Rocksteady originated. And this is I have lots of Parkinson's disease recently. So I am on high amplitude LSVT big exercise already. I know you met Cynthia, and then
Oh,
we
sure.
work
Yeah.
together. And then urban polling also, the activator poll, you work together. So this one is the next project we will have, the Rock Steady. And some of my colleagues are hearing more and very familiar. So looking forward for my colleagues to be more engaged, and we will learn more about these things. So for our listeners who are listening right now, they are caregivers or they are themselves a Parkinson's disease patient. What are your advice or tips for them?
Yeah. Parkinson's is a progressive neurologic disease, which that's a bad day to get that diagnosis. Our founder said, look, how good I feel today is the best I'm feeling because the disease is getting worse from here on out. And that can lead to, despair and lack of hope. I think what we see in people that come to our gym are a gym full of people fighting back against their Parkinson's disease. And maybe it's the first time in a long time that newly diagnosed person gets a glimmer of hope.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is there is hope out there, right? There's no study that says rock steady boxing is any better intervention than anything else. There are lots of studies that say exercising like you do at rock steady boxing improves your quality of life, decreases your falls, improves your gait and balance, that it improves your Parkinson's symptoms. So the bottom line is, if you're a caregiver or if you're someone with Parkinson's disease, one of your principal interventions, besides sleeping the best you can, taking your medication on time, right in line with that needs to be get yourself an exercise that you like to do, that you can do regularly, that you can do consistently, and that is multimodal and intense enough to get the brain change and the functional changes you're after. So exercise needs to be part of that medication package, just as high on the priority list as the medication itself.
Exactly. Yeah, we keep having it like exercise is a pill.
Right.
Like I told them that whenever your heart pill, how about your beta blocker, let's say, 3 times a day. So your exercise is also like there's a frequency that you need to be compliant. So exercise is a pill, exercise is medicine. Thank you, Ryan. That's for our Parkinson's disease. But how about for us, the listeners of the Balance and Fall Support Group, who are clinicians and caregivers? So what's your advice for us?
Yeah, my advice to you is be educated on what the current literature says, and that's 150 minutes a week, multimodal, high intensity exercise. And high intensity exercise is different per person. So it's high effort. You got to make sure that person is working hard. But someone on an assistive device or someone that spends most of their time in a wheelchair can still work hard with exercise. It's just going to look different than a person with young onset Parkinson's disease. So, but my overriding advice is we have to challenge anyone with Parkinson's disease with high effort, high intensity exercise that addresses specifically their symptoms of Parkinson's disease.
Yes, definitely. I am so glad that lots of evidence-based research, lots of organizations and exercise company and exercise techniques are being done for our Parkinson's disease patients. And lots of foundation and organization are very, very supportive with that. Lots of literature as well. As clinicians, our job is just to relay the message, right?
Right.
And then, so we are thankful for your time, especially you're very busy, and this will be shared to all. And then we support you. And how can we connect you as a last message?
Yeah, our website is www.rocksteadyboxing.org, O-R-G. And my email is rcotton, R-C-O-T-T-O-N, @rocksteadyboxing.org. So if you have questions about training or about the organization, it's all on the website. And if anyone wants to register for training, there's links on there, and that'll get you to our staff that handles all that. So
Yes. So all the links, I will going to put that on the caption once we share. This will be shared in our Balance and Fall support group in Aging Adults and also in YouTube so they can have access. So thank you so much, Dr. Ryan. We appreciate you. And thank you guys for all the listeners right now. So that's very inspiring. It's very motivational. Imagine they are a group of Parkinson's disease patients and then they are really socializing and you see the hope and then they're improving a lot. You see the progress and we delay the progressive disease. So fight the Parkinson's disease. That's what we're trying to fight.
That's right.
Right. So thank you so much, guys. It's me again, Dr. Jenny Yusuf, physical therapist and doctor of physical therapy, board certified clinicians in geriatrics, and vice chair of global health in aging adults. So if you have any questions regarding our Rock Steady organizations, connect with us and I'll connect you with Dr. Ryan. All right. Bye for now. Thank you, Doc.
Thanks, Jenny.